Okay, we're going to put transmission fluid in the car. Okay, we're going to put transmission fluid in the car. Every car is different where your dipstick is at. Usually the transmission fluid is in the back. So that's the transmission dipstick. Right there, that's high and that's low. Okay, so yours should be in between here. So that is 1 pint, not a quart. This is a quart, okay? So this is only 1 pint. How many pints in a quart? 2? Sure? Okay, so there's half of that is a pint. Okay, so let's go ahead and check this. Car has to be hot and running. And it is hot and running. Not real hot. Leave it sit for a half hour after you run it so it cools down a little bit. So you can see there's hardly none in there. It's barely touching the dipstick. So don't trust your mechanic. My mechanic just tested this and I asked him twice and both times he told me it was fine. Okay? So you got to check it yourself. Okay? So why he would tell me that was fine, I don't know. If the car is sitting on a slant, it might have read a little higher, but that's like a quart low. This part's a pint, this part's a pint, that's really low. Okay, so you have to use a long funnel. That's why they make these long funnels. Make sure it's clean. You don't want no dirt and dust getting down into your transmission. And then I'll stick this down into the hole. Okay? That's why they make those long funnels. Now, what we normally do, we just take that and pour it in there. But we're guessing at how much we're putting in. So you can't overfill your transmission. It could damage it. Okay, you can't overfill your transmission because it will damage it. So a good tip I got today off a video was, he said measure it in another cup and then pour that in there. So I was hoping this would say pint, but it doesn't say pint. So how many ounces in a pint? Okay.
How many ounces in the bottle?
Well, I thought you said there was 2. Oh. Or ounces. It don't say 946 milliliters. So we'll just guess at this a little bit, but at least we'll have a general idea of what we're gonna put in. So there's a 1/4 cup. So that's not even close to a pint.
No, I think at least a cup.
Okay. Well, we'll start here because we'll put this in, and then that's going to heat up. When that heats up, it's going to expand. So I only want to bring it up a little bit at a time. Sometimes if you have fluid on the pipe that goes down there, you won't get a good reading. See how I have fluid all over there because it's still on the pipe. So you have to wait for it to run down. it doesn't even look like it's showing on the stick. Okay, and we'll just put another quarter cup in. And then we'll check it tomorrow and see how it went. I don't want to overfill it. I have ran cars that were overfilled. It never hurt it. But they say you shouldn't.
Really hot.
So it's still not even showing.
Well, they say at least it usually tells you on the dipstick how much you got to put in there.
Let me go in and look it up on the internet and see how many pints.
Doesn't it tell you on there how much is down?
Okay, so I looked it up on the web. 2 pints in 1 quart. So that's 2 pints. 1 pint equals 2 cups. So we put in a half a cup so far. That will only be what? A quarter pint. Right?
I don't know, but I would have put a half a bottle in. Usually it tells you on the dipstick if it's how much low it is.
Well, it does, right there. Yeah. Right here is the low mark. Right here is the high mark.
Yeah, but it doesn't say 1 quart low or half a quart low.
Well, this is a pint. From here to here is a pint. So what she's talking about is right here, there's some writing. So let's see if we can read that. Don't add in cross hatch area. So if it's inside that area, don't put no more in. Check when hot and the car is idling. In park, use Mercon 5 oil. And then they give the serial number. So, okay. Let's put in another half a cup then.
Not even registering.
No.
On the dipstick. Oh, that's...
What? Well, the mechanic said it was fine. Twice.
Well, how come it's that low?
I know, it's by me.
You probably didn't even check it. That's my thinking.
Okay, see, it's barely touching the stick.
Yeah. Mine used to say a half a quart low, whole quart low.
Okay, I think it's like right about here now.
Yeah, you probably could have put a half a bottle in there. got in there so far?
We put in a cup.
Well, you can barely see the dipstick in it.
Yeah.
Most of it's on the top of the car.
That's leaking out of the funnel.
Yeah, I know.
I think it might be right there. I'm not sure if that's just like a little residue off the pipe or not. I think it's right at the bottom of this thing now. Yeah.
Huh?
You want to put more in it?
Well, if it's not registering up to that, at least in the middle of that, supposed to be in the middle of that crisscross.
Yeah.
I know in my Cavalier it used to say it's a half a quart low or something, you know.
So I think we got 2 cups in there now.
Well, that would make the pint.
Yeah. So that's about half the bottle. Yeah, it's still right there, right where my nail is. Okay, let's leave it there for a while, and then we'll come back and do it again later. I don't want to overfill it. Yeah, it's right at the bottom of that thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so one other thing, you can look in your manual for your car, and in the back there's a list of fluids. Always make sure you put the right fluid in. If you put the wrong fluid in, you can damage your car. Just stop at an auto parts store and tell them what kind of car and the year, and they can give you the right fluid. Okay, this one just happens to be Mercon 5, but there's various types. Okay, see ya. Hi all. Okay, so I ended up putting some more transmission fluid in here, and it's real rare that you have to put transmission fluid in a car. like maybe once every 5 years, 10 years. And I've driven for years without having to put transmission fluid in a car. So in general, they say if you have to put transmission fluid in a car, a lot of it, there's something wrong with the car. One time, me and my buddy went and looked at a used car lot, small lot, and beautiful car, but we test drove it going down the road, and it clunked. You know, every block or so it would clunk. And we went back to the dealer, and the young kid there, he put a whole quart in it. And we test drove it again, and it was fine. So then he didn't buy it, but we went and talked to a guy that used to work on cars, and he said, no, he said, if they have to put that much in it, there's something wrong with the car. So what I end up doing, I put a whole quart in, and then this one's down almost half. So a whole quart plus a third maybe. And I finally got it up to where it should be. So when it's cold, when the car is cold, it should be down at the bottom line here. When the transmission's hot, it should be up here. So if the car is hot, real hot, you should leave it sit for a half hour or so before you check it. I picked that up on a video the other day. I always heard that check it when it's hot, but you don't want it real hot. So I'll show you. We'll go over this again. And I've been bringing this up just a little bit a day because I didn't want to overfill it. So it looks like I got it right at the bottom line now. And then I'll leave it there. I'll check it again tomorrow to make sure it's there. So the reason why I've been dealing with this is we had a problem with the brakes. We ended up fixing all 4 brakes on the car, and we drove it on a real hot day a few days ago, and it leaked a whole bunch of fluid all over the ground here. So the guy was working on the brakes, so I asked him to check the transmission fluid too, you know, to see if anything was wrong. And he told me he checked the transmission fluid and it was fine. So I asked him twice, once on the phone, once in person. Both times he said it was fine. As soon as I got the car home, you saw the dipstick. It was barely touching the dipstick. So I don't get it. I'm not a mechanic, but that don't seem right. So I actually took a quart into the garage, put it on a desk, and said, here, put some in for me. And he slid it back towards me and said when he checked it, it was fine. So I don't know. You can make your own conclusions as to what happened. He said there was no puddles on the ground there, and he said there was a little bit on the bottom of the car, but nothing to really speak of. He said he tightened up a few bolts down there on the pan, but he wasn't worried about it, so I don't know. One thing I did read was the transmission has got to breathe. And when it gets hot, it might bubble over. I read one comment, they said on the transmission down there, at the bottom of the car, there's an air vent. So I'm thinking the transmission got hot and it boiled over. And that's why we got the transmission fluid on the ground there. One comment I read that they thought air vent was plugged up, and the guy said he actually had the fluid bubbling out of here. This fill vent, this fill hole is here. And that vent down below was plugged up, so when it was getting hot, it was boiling out up here. So I think what happened with mine was the transmission might have been overworking. The transmission might have been working hard because the back brakes were messed up. They said that one was actually locked up, and we could hear it grinding a lot. So that's what I'm thinking, is the back brakes were grinding, not working right. The transmission worked too hard trying to move the car. I know it was low on fluid last week. I checked it. It was low, but it wasn't really that low enough to add any. I also saw a video that said if the transmission fluid is low, the transmission doesn't have enough fluid to keep it cool. Okay, so that's an important point. If the transmission fluid is low, there's not enough transmission fluid to keep the transmission cool. So, like I said, I knew it was low, but not really low enough to add any. You know, I don't remember exactly where it was, but it was on the stick. And so I'm thinking it was low. Transmission was working hard, didn't have enough fluid to keep itself cool, and that's why it overheated and blew out some more transmission fluid all over the ground. So, moral of the story is, keep your transmission full. Check it yourself. Don't trust your mechanic. My mechanic, great guy, one of the best in town, told me it was fine. And it turned out to be a quart and a third low. I mean, you know. Yeah. Okay. One more tip. If you have multiple cars, or even if you have one car, when you buy your transmission fluid, you know, it's particular to each car. You know, it's not one size fits all. Each car has a different fluid. Make sure you mark it. See, I have different vehicles here, so I don't want to be looking this stuff up all the time. So when I buy it, I mark it. Just put a piece of masking tape, or I got white Gorilla tape on there. The car it goes to, new transmission fluid. I bought it 7/20/18. I do that because I have transmission fluid down in the basement I bought 30 years ago. It's still down there, so I have no idea what car it went to. So this one's almost, I went ahead and put a little bit more in after I ended the last video, and this one's only about half full now. So whole quart and a half, so quart and a half in a transmission, and the mechanic told me it was fine. And I checked it. We let it sit for a couple days. It's not leaking, so it's not like it's leaking out. I put a cardboard underneath the car. So that sat under the car for a couple of days. You can see there's no fluid on it, so it's not leaking. Okay, so where I ended up filling it up to, I'm getting a different reading every time. There, it's right on the line. Okay, so you can see there, it's just a little bit above the cool line. It's just a little bit above the cold line. Okay? So if there's a little bit of error, I know I have enough fluid in there. And I'll check it again every couple of days for a week or so just to make sure everything's going okay. Okay, so one more thing. If you go to your car manual, in mine, it's in the back. It tells what fluids I need. See, here's the automatic transmission. This is Motorcraft Mercon 5 ATF for automatic transmission fluid. So what I do is I just bring this book inside the auto parts store and let them pick it out. That's way I'm sure I'll get the right one. Same for power steering fluid. Oil is not that important. You can usually kind of switch these up. See here it says 5W20, but I think you can put different oils in. But the transmission fluid, you should stick with the one they recommend here. Here it says 13 liters or 13.7 quarts, and I put in 1.5 quarts, so I guess it wasn't really that low if you look at it like that. Okay, so that's how you find out what kind of transmission fluid you need. If you don't have a manual, you can go to local junkyards. Sometimes they'll have a stack of manuals. Better yet, just go to eBay. You can usually buy them. Sometimes they're expensive. Search online. You can usually find a PDF for it. You can usually find the car and truck manuals as a PDF. Maybe not specific to your year, but maybe something close. And that's probably good enough as long as it's within a few years. Okay, see ya. Bye.